Hi good life family, what's good and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Welcome to a new video and a new movie review. Today, as you might have already seen from the title and the thumbnail, I am going to be reviewing the movie titled Tender Hedges, currently showing on Tana Adelana TV here on YouTube. This movie stars notable faces like Tana Adelana, Angel Unigwe, Wole Ojo, Sharon Ifedi, Rita Edochie, Benita Unigwe, and of course some other talented actors and actresses that I may not have to mention their names because I don't know their names. This movie was a solid watch for me. I haven't come across a movie on the YouTube Nollywood space in this month of April that I genuinely enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed watching this particular movie. And that's why I cannot help but wonder why this movie is not getting as much views. You could have watched the movie. Are you not spreading the word to your friend? The movie is interesting. Angel Unigwe in this movie plays the role of a young girl named Akuna, and Akuna was basically born of a woman who was young and traveled to the city. I think she worked for an influential family, and then she happened to get into a kind of a thing with their son, right? The son's name in this movie is Barrister Dozie Obi. I don't know why for some reason I just genuinely like that name. That name sounds like a name of a character that you can pull out of a Chimamanda novel. If you read Chimamanda's books, Chimamanda Adichie, the author of Have a Yellow Sun, Purple Hibiscus, and all of that, that name Dozie Obi sounds like something that can be the name of a character in one of her books, and I just like the name. Along the line, I think she probably felt like she was in love, and she happened to just get pregnant by Dozie Obi. And because she's from a poor family, low class, that kind of stuff, she's not in their league and all of that. And basically because the parents wanted a better life for their son than just getting married to a village girl that came to live with you because you got her pregnant, and your life goes downhill from there. So they found a way to send the girl back home, send her away with the pregnancy. Dozie Obi in this movie did not know anything about the pregnancy, so he was quite oblivious about the whole pregnancy. They sent him abroad to go study and become a barrister, a lawyer, and all of that, and he never knew about this particular woman and her pregnancy. Akune's mom comes back home to the village where she lives with her mother, and as a result of the heartbreak of being abandoned by a man that she thought was genuinely in love with her, she suffered a lot and eventually died. So Akune was raised by her grandmother, who was basically living all the days of her life mourning her daughter and cursing Dozie Obi and his family because of what they did to the daughter. So all Akune knew about was the fact that her father was a bad man, and she grew up hating her dad, and just basically she grew up in a very sad environment because her grandmom was always crying. She would literally go and sit outside and just be looking at the stars and just be crying and raining curses on Dozie Obi and his family. The role of Akune's grandmom was actually played by Rita Edochie, by the way. The whole sadness and sorrow that always kept her up at night, crying and falling sick all of the time, finally led to her dying, right? So Akune lost her grandmom, and her mom, the grandmom died as a result of the sorrow that she felt for what had happened to her daughter and how she lost her daughter at a young age because of the carelessness and wickedness of this Dozie Obi and his family. She died. Akune was basically very broken. She was sad, she was crying most of the time, but she was finally taken in by a kind teacher in their school named Teacher Gladys, and the role of Teacher Gladys in this movie is played by Tana Adelana. So Teacher Gladys takes her in and basically just becomes a new mom to her, kind of a mom, a sister, a friend. She takes care of her since Teacher Gladys teaches at her school, so they could just easily go to school together and all of that. So along the line, while they are basically just living their own happy life in their own small world, Akune actually starts to become happy again because of the kind of love and care and attention that Teacher Gladys shows her. Along the line, a young man appears one day in front of Teacher Gladys' house, and he says his name is Barrister Dozie Obi, and the Igwe directed him to this place, and he's here to, long story cut short, he's Akune's dad. Akune does not want to hear a single word about whatever he has to say. As far as she's concerned, he's the reason that her mom died. He's the reason that her grandmom suffered all the days of her life and eventually died. So he's basically just a bad man. So Dozie Obi basically comes, he's a changed person, he's grown up, and he never knew about the pregnancy apparently. He got to find out later when it was already too late, when she had already died, and now he's here to make amends. He's here to take his daughter, build a strong bond and a relationship with her, and basically just make amends and correct all of his wrongdoings and his mistakes that he made in the past. His excuse is that he was never really aware of the whole pregnancy, and he was young and reckless, right? He didn't know what he was doing. Just the same way Akune's mom was young and they basically just doing whatever at that time, and he didn't know what he was doing. He was apparently too young to process the repercussions of his actions, so he was basically just going with the flow. That's like his story, right? Anyway, a whole lot of drama ensues from that point, including Dozie Obi taking Akunne to the city to try and form a bond with her and make amends for all of the wrong things that he did. Fortunately and or unfortunately, Akunne was met with a woman. I think her name is Peggy in this movie. That is her father's girlfriend, and the role of Peggy is played by Benita in this movie. And there were issues, right? There were issues. The woman was apparently or seemingly not comfortable with the whole idea of Dozie bringing back his daughter, because she probably just felt threatened, you know, like by the presence of his daughter in his life. She probably felt like something that might ensue, and she would take her own place in his life. Finally, one thing led to the other. Dozie Obi came back to the village to come and stay with Akunne in Teacher Gladys's house, all in the bid to try and win her love and affection and pay for his wrongdoings. And in the process of trying to win his daughter's love, he actually ended up winning someone else's love, because he and Teacher Gladys, you know, started to have a thing going on. He fell in love with her when he saw her book, her novel that she was writing. He started reading her book, and he was able to deduce from the kind of emotions that were flying up and down in the book that this is somebody's real life story. And then they got talking. She talked about her own life experience and her own issues that she had in her past, and how she was heartbroken from this and that and that. And from there, they started to get along, right? Anyway, long story cut short, the movie ended up in him winning his daughter's love back and also winning the love of Teacher Gladys, and they lived happily ever after. What kept me glued to the screen of this particular movie was the rawness of the emotions that you could see in this film. First of all, before I even proceed to now delve into that and further proceed to buttress that point, I would love to talk about Angel Unigwe's acting in this movie. Oh my god, Angel Unigwe, the act. Angel Unigwe in this particular movie went all out in bringing her emotions onto this particular role in the movie that she was playing. She cried to the point in this movie that you would obviously see that this girl is exhausted in this movie. Like, she was obviously exhausted from a lot of crying. She cried so much in this film, and like her overall emotions, when she was happy, she was extremely happy. When she was sad, she was deeply sad. Angel Unigwe wore the emotions that she was supposed to embody in this movie raw on her person, like a new garment. Her acting in this movie was top notch. I really pray for her that she would, you know, like get, you know, like more visibility in her life and grow in her career, because her talent is so undiluted and it's raw and it's so pure. Angel Unigwe, the act, in simple terms, she did so well. I can't honestly think of that actress in her age range that would have been able to nail this role the way she did. I think she did so good in this movie. And as for Wole and Tana Adelana, the chemistry between the both of them was amazing. I can't even lie. Tana Adelana is such a calm and collected actress. I mean, like, I haven't seen her in a movie in a very long time, so this is like basically this movie was kind of like a reminder of like the kind of person that she is. I honestly enjoyed watching her in this movie. The way she was so kind, the way she was so, you know, composed in her acting. I feel like she did commendably good. I feel like she brought in the right amount of energy that was required for her role, given that her role did not really require her to do too much in this film. And same goes for Wole. For Sharon Ifedi in her acting, in as much as she was not really in the spotlight in this movie because she wasn't the main character, she was basically kind of like a supporting character. She played the role of Oluchi, that's Akunne's friend in this particular movie. I was not really thrilled about her acting. I didn't really see her do a lot, although we can also deny the fact that the movie did not really require her to do a lot. But I just felt like, for me, I felt like she was kind of absent in this movie. I haven't really seen any of her movies of recent, so I can't really say she's a fantastic actress or not. But what I felt, or what I was able to notice in this movie, was that I felt like she was quite distant in this film. She wasn't really putting in a lot of energy and the rest, probably because she wasn't the main character and she was not really required to do too much. But I just really felt like she had just, you know, tweaked up, you know, her acting skills a little bit in this movie and been a little bit more present. She would have done perfectly well. But aside from that, she didn't do badly, just that I felt like for someone who has been in the game a long time, she could have done better. And then as for Benita in the movie, in her role as Dozie Obi's girlfriend, there's something about Benita's eyes that makes me confused on how to rate her acting skills. Like, there's just always a very distant look in her eyes. Like, she's present, she's here, but she's not here. Like, she looks like, I don't know, like, for lack of better words, right? I would say she always looks like she's drunk. I can't explain it. There's just this kind of distant look in her eyes, like, I don't care. That's probably the way her eyes are. That's why I said, like, the look in her eyes makes it difficult for me to actually say if she's good in her acting or not. But as for, like, aside from like her facial expression, her body language, I think she did good enough. From the way she was speaking, I think she played the role of a mean auntie, a mean girlfriend in this particular movie well enough. She didn't do too much, she didn't do too little, she just brought in the right amount of energy. There was nothing fantastic or spectacular about her act. I think she just did sufficiently good, that's the word, right? And then, you know, Mama Rita Edochie, town crier. What I used to know her when she used to act movie before when I was still young is the fact that she could cry very well. She can cry for Africa. She and this other actress Chinwe, between the both of them, I don't know who can cry more. But she brought her game, you know, her A game, her A crying game into this movie because she cried a lot in this film. But aside from the fact that she was crying a lot in this film, I think she did like good. The times that when she was not crying and she was acting and just basically talking, I think, you know, the kind of vibe and the kind of energy you get from someone like Rita Edochie is the energy of someone that's already very comfortable with acting. So she doesn't actually have to do too much to drive home the point that she's a good actress. From the way she carries herself in movies, you already know that she's a fantastic actress. She doesn't need to do too much. She doesn't need to convince you in simple terms. And I think she did good. She did good enough in this movie. Her acting was okay, sufficiently good. Yeah, in fact that she was not really required to do too much in this movie apart from crying. She did good. She did as was required of her in this film, and I think that was like really commendable. I really love and admire the visual concept of this film. You guys, the number of things that kept me glued to the screen in this movie is not just the story, neither is it just about the performance of the actors. Even the visual concept of the film, how every scene looked so real. You could tell from the way this movie looked so beautiful and well put together. This movie was not made like in a single day. I didn't check who wrote this story or who directed this film or the actual producer of this movie. But if all of this is Tana Adelana's handwork, I think she's very creative. The movie was such a beautiful one to watch. The fact that all of the emotions in the movie could be felt, like you that is the viewer, you are not like, you know, there are movies where they are acting and then they are trying to convince you that this is what's happening in the film, and then you cannot really tell, you cannot really see it from like the scenes. The emotions in this movie were, you know, like it was bouncing off of the screen and just, you know, like getting into us that were the viewers. I cried watching this movie because the movie, like when it needed to be emotional, it was emotional. When there was love and romance, you could feel the love and romance, you could feel the chemistry, you could feel like the raw energy. The camaraderie in this movie was so good, so beautiful to watch. The visual concept of the movie was so in sync with the actual story itself. How beautiful the village looked, how beautiful the classroom, not necessarily beautiful, but like it just, if you are someone that grew up in the village, I just feel like you might resonate so well with the visual concept of this film because it was so beautiful. The houses, the classrooms, the roads and everything. Tana Adelana did a fantastic job in this movie. If you have not watched this movie, I don't know what you're doing with your time, but I know that you're doing the wrong thing. Hurry now as I'm talking to you and go and watch the movie. I think that as far as the month of April is concerned, this movie is like one of the best movies that have been put out here on the YouTube Nollywood space, and I feel like if there's going to be an award giving ceremony for YouTube Nollywood movies, this movie should be nominated and should win the award. And that's basically all that I have to say about this particular movie. And for a rating, I think a 7/10 is a fair rating for this movie, or let me just say 7.5. A 7.5. And the reason why this movie is not getting a very high score like 8/10 or 9/10 is the fact that the movie is just a very simple film, right? It's simple. There are no serious plot twists here and there in the film. It's just a very simple, straightforward movie. But I think a 7.5/10 is a fair score. Let me know how you felt about the movie if you've seen the movie while watching it. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you go check out the movie, you watch it. It's really educating, it's entertaining, it's also very interesting, and it's just, you know, all shades of good. All of that being said, we have gladly and successfully come to the end of this particular movie review. Thank you so very much for watching up until this point if you're still here. And then if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please help your girl. Subscribe to the channel, click on the subscribe button, get subscribed to join the Good Life family, turn on your notifications to get notified whenever I put out new awesome and amazing content like this. And until I come again to your screen next time, I remain your girl, Mimi Nasike. Thank you so much for watching, thank you so much for stopping by. I love you all dearly and God bless you. Bye.